morning, we're talking about a topic many families can relate to, caring for an older family member, but oftentimes that can take a toll on the caregiver. For more on where people can turn to help, I went to Anthony Cirillo, the president of the Aging Experience. All right, this caught my attention. 50 million people are caregivers, and the services are continuing to rise. Okay, what do people want?
Well, essentially what they want is time and flexibility. I mean, with COVID, what has happened is that we've created a whole new class of caregivers, right? People who have COVID, where now all of a sudden people are taking care of them. So that's why it's become more popular in terms of companies addressing the issues. But there was a seminal report from Harvard, and it was called The Caring Company, and said, what do people want? They want time, and they want flexibility. Now, you could argue, you know, in a country that's grappling with just paid family time off as a national imperative, you know, that we can't get to that, so companies are up to themselves to provide the time. For example, Google just increased their paid family time from 4 weeks to 8 weeks. Very generous benefit. So that's time. Flexibility, you could argue, because of COVID, people have gained because of their flexible schedules and staying at home and being able to take care of mom or dad, especially if they're close by or if they live with them. But that could also lead to burnout of the caregiver because the proximity is too close. So, but time and flexibility are the two things that they really want. First of all, I think people have gotten more comfortable with wanting to ask for help. I mean, that's something, you know, there were certain cultures, Asian cultures have a culture of you take care of mom and dad forever, you know, no matter what. You know, you care for them, you nurture them. But I think people in, you know, two-wage earner societies, everything else that's going on in the world, people have learned, I think, to reach out. They know because of their own health, when you start evaluating your own health, because caregivers often predecease, as my sister did, my mother. So you have to start thinking about your own health when you're doing this, and that's why I think you might tend to want to reach out as well.
Well, these services seem to be growing in popularity, is that correct?
And the reason they're growing in popularity is because companies know that if they don't provide some other level of services, they're going to lose good employees. But you also need to have a culture in the company to do that. You can't just provide the services, but then when an employee says, I'm a caregiver, then you find a way to get them out the door, because that happens a lot. So you have to be aware of that. But if it's a company that has a culture around this and then offers these benefits, then it's something you need to look at.
Okay, when people start to evaluate these companies, what should they be looking for?
Well, there's different kinds of services, and so the question is, can one size really fit all? A lot of times they'll bring in services, they call them employee assistance programs, that kind of thing, where you're looking at a company that can do referral services. So the question you might want to evaluate, can I get the referrals in my own community, or is the person who I'm talking to, who might be halfway across the country, really familiar with what I have? A lot of times they may have apps that you use. So the question would be, am I going to use the app? Am I going to really want to know where mom is? Am I going to put a tracker, or whatever it might be? Am I actually going to use that? So a lot of times it's more of a time waster than a productive use of your time. So that's where you really have to kind of look at that. What are the services, and am I really going to use them? I mean, some of them provide mental health services, financial counseling, and all I could say is that, you know, should you have a financial professional, not one company that does it all. So just be careful when you're evaluating, because, you know, if you have a leak in your house, you know, if on the roof, you're not calling the plumber, right? So you need the right experts, and that's what you need to evaluate, and ask your company when they're bringing in these services.
Okay, so at the end of the day, what do you recommend people do?
Well, and I'm a little bit cynical this way, but I recommend you find a good geriatric physician. If you can't, find a good family physician that takes care of older people. I found one from my mother. First time we went in, he spent an hour with her. He talked little about her health and more about her life.
Wow.
When you get a physician like that, you've hit the jackpot. Find a good financial professional. Find a good elder care attorney, not just an attorney, but an elder care attorney. Consider a geriatric care manager who coordinate care for you. And then look at your grassroots, your churches and things like that for the support, for the referrals. Most of the great resources are right at your fingertips in your community. They can tell you where they go because they've been there, and they can help you.
Well, you can learn more at going to theagingexperience.com. Anthony, thank you very, very much, sir.
You're quite welcome.